Hey everybody, I'm going to try not to sneeze in my microphone today. Sorry I haven't been on all day. Not been a very good day. So, this daggone hurricane is, I don't know, man. I'm confused with it. Hey, thanks for the new follows. Thanks for everybody that's joining me. I seen a question about Reed Timmer. I don't know except for I know Nathan talked with him earlier today, and they were on the one of the beaches there in Florida. So I don't think Reed Timmer went there. Hey, Francis. But the models are still showing this thing going right up the East Coast. Now, let me move my mic here. We'll try to talk louder. Thanks, Jennifer, for the raid. Appreciate that. Even though I said hi to Sharon first before you. Sorry about that. So anyway, let's go. And I'm working in slow mo. This flu is like So let's go first. You know, I'd had that turned off. Anyway, let's look at the infrared. I tell you what, folks. I'll tell you what. Let's get it to the latest info first, and then I want to talk about a few things with this crazy hurricane. So anyway, it's still Cat 4, barely. I mean, well, at 140, it's mid-range Cat 4. But I'll tell you why in a minute, why I think barely. Because I think they're overestimating this a little bit. And I do believe the 11 o'clock major update is going to drop this thing considerably. Pressure has been going up all day. Now, just stop and think about this. 24 hours ago, this thing was 185 mile per hour, Cat 5, with pressure as low as 911 yesterday. Now it's only 140 and 942. The higher that pressure number goes, the weaker it's getting. Hey, thanks for the new follow. So, that black area in the satellite, that tells me that those are really strong thunderstorms rotating around that eye. The darker, the bolder the color, the higher the storm tops are. So anyway, notice where it says moving zero. That's right. That's not a typo. This thing is stationary. And that's not good. That's not good at all. Because right where that center core is, that eye especially. Hey, thanks for the new follow. That's hovering right around some really shallow waters right there. It needs the really warm, deep waters. Thank you for the follow. Yeah, it's been stationary for a long time. Yeah, it's crazy. So, oh goodness, all kinds of new follows. Thank you, Jen, for bringing all these new follows over to me. I appreciate that. So, folks, upper left. Dang, there's another new follow. Upper left. is the radar off of Miami, and I'll blow that up full screen here in a minute. And the bottom right, that is infrared satellite. I can't show you visible because the sun's gone down. So the reason why I think they're overestimating this is I was watching some of the data coming from the last flight that flew through Dorian, and the dropsondes was only saying 96 mile per hour at the surface. 800 and some feet up, yes, it did jump up to about 133, but still, I think at 140 is a little overestimating. Yeah, Jennifer, I know. I got that last night, and Sean left me today, my son, so I have nobody to hold the camera. So that's my excuse. You gotta wait till I can get somebody to hold the camera while I dance. So anyway, from what I understand from some information I got earlier, was the SFMR, which is on the bottom of one of the wings. And what that stands for, folks, is Oh crap! I got it off my screen already. Anyway, it's a microwave, and what that does is that shines down with microwaves to the ocean, and it sees the wave heights, and they can tell how high those waves are with that microwave, and they could say, well, okay, it takes this much wind to make that kind of a wave. Okay, so this SFMR apparently is broke. It's having a hard time giving accurate data. And so they're having to mainly go by the dropsondes. Now, this is the information that I understand that I heard earlier. That's not good. We need that SFMR in order to help. Now, one thing I'd like to show you, go into detail. Let me blow this graphic up for you. It sits underneath the wing of the plane. Now, this is the plane that flew through there earlier. They have a C-band nose weather radar. They have a C-band fuselage radar. They have an X-band Doppler radar. And then underneath the wing, I guess I should switch scenes. I told you I'm not feeling good. Thank you for the new follows, folks. So underneath the wing is this step frequency. Thanks, Becky. The step frequency microwave radiometer, the SFMR. So they have all kinds of different things on this particular plane and several others to help them come up with the data that they need to put into the models to accurately try to project this thing. So if this thing is down and not working, it really hinders us. So let's look at, before we get more into detail, because Dorian is not going nowhere, okay, folks? So we'll talk about that in more detail in a little bit. Here's some other things that we're watching that's out in the Atlantic and one in the Gulf. I really don't think most of these we have to worry about. There's a big high pressure system out here. So this one, as you can kind of see the 5-day cone, it's going to go that way. This one over here, it's going that way. Now it'll probably run into that high. But that high is projected to come around this way. And that will help Dorian go north. So, and then we got this orange area out here. Now this one, I'm kind of keeping a little bit more of an eye on it. Thank you for the new follow. Because the cone on the 5-day has it going west. This is the same thing that Dorian did. So that's just a tropical wave at this point. Now we got this thing over here in the Gulf. What's that thing going to do? Well, it's got a pretty good chance there in the 5-day, but it's kind of pointed towards Mexico. But could it form something and turn up towards Texas? I will be keeping an eye on that. Okay, folks? So this one over here has got a 90%, but it's going to go northwest. I don't think it's going to bother us. This has got a 50-50 in 5 days. This one up here, like I say, is going to swing northeast. Stay away from us. I'm not drinking anything right now. This is the flu. This has got a 30-30 in the 2-day, 30 in the 5-day. And that's going to swing northeast. Now this one over here, that's got a 60 on the 2-day and 70 on the 5-day. So I'll keep a close eye on that in case it tries to do something really cool and maybe head for Mexico. Okay, folks, this is the latest forecast cone. We've got about 32 minutes for the 11 o'clock update, so we'll see if this changes, because that is going to be a major update. So, as you can see, the red there on the coast, that's hurricane warnings, and the pink is hurricane watch. But I don't know about this thing. It's been sitting in the same place since last night, pretty much. So, is it going to re-strengthen? I'm not sure about that. But one thing I can tell you, and here's some things that I noticed last night, and I wish I would have recorded it. I was laying down in bed watching MASH, and I looked up, and one thing that I seen right away in the wee hours of the morning was that there was a lot of lightning really starting to pop right around that eye. That tells me it was getting ready to do a replacement on the eye wall, and sure enough it did. And it finally did that this morning. And it hasn't recovered since. That was late morning, was about the time when it went from 1 mile per hour down to stationary. And another thing that I noticed last night, and I've seen this many times, that sometimes when it goes through an eye wall replacement, and especially if it's moving really slow, what will happen is during that phase, it'll weaken. And when it weakens, the thing grows. It's just like, well, how can I say this? But you get all that momentum going, trying to pull in towards the center, and all of a sudden it slows down. Where's that momentum going to go? It's going to go outward. So you'll see the outer edges grow. And I seen that in the real early morning hours, that you noticed in the last several days, folks, this western side has always been real thin. Hey, how you doing, Raymond? Well, last night and overnight and early this morning, as that thing grew, it grew more to the west and really became symmetrical. And since then, though, it's went through several phases since it went stationary. And you can see here, it's still going through those phases. Hey, Bubba, Raz, everybody else that's just chiming in. It's still a Cat 4, but I seriously think here at the top of the hour that they're going to weaken this thing down a bit. But remember, folks, when they weaken, they physically get larger. What that's going to mean for Florida, if this thing finally decides to go up the coast, which all the models are saying so, all four of them that I've been looking at, the wider it is from center, the more it's going to affect the east coast of Florida. The more those tropical storm force winds are going to move away from center and cover more and more of the state of Florida. So I am at this point, I'm bewildered. I'm not sure, just because it's staying in one place. Now, this infrared satellite loop, this is a 3-hour loop, okay? And you can kind of watch that eye. It's wobbling around in a circle. It goes a little bit north, northwest, west, come back southwest, and all the way around. It's just sitting there wobbling. And this is so devastating for the Grand Bahama Island. And even those dark areas there, those are the stronger storms. And those are still pushing out to that island in the east, over there at the Abaco. Will Jacksonville get hit? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what this thing's going to do. And let me turn off the satellite, because I want to show you guys something. And I'll zoom in. This is the Great Bahama Island, okay? Or the Grand Bahama Island. See all this on the north side? That's real shallow waters, mainly where the eye is sitting over top of. I think some of that is actually coral reef, and it's really shallow. It's not near as warm. So it's going to weaken. The longer it stays over that, it's going to weaken. Now I want to show you something else on the radar. Here's the radar out of Miami, Florida. Remember last night how that eye looked so bigger, or not so bigger, excuse me. It was filled in all the way around. But now look on that southwest side. Look how ragged that is. You can see the island outside of the eye. Now, is that trying to do another eye wall replacement? It doesn't look like it to me. It's actually stronger and everywhere else except for that southwest side. And I really think that's because it's over those shallow waters. Yeah, it to me it does. It looks like it's tearing itself apart. But the outer bands are just amazing. Some of these outer bands that's been coming close to the coast of Florida and even over Florida have been pretty strong. Really producing some high winds. I was watching some of Jen's and Nathan's stream today, and tremendous waves. Thanks for the new follow. I don't think so. Actually, when we look at this latest cone, and I'll zoom in here. I got to transition over for y'all. Okay, it's at 140 now. This point here, which is 2 o'clock in the morning, it's got it down to 130 as far as the wind speed. We get up here, this next point, 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, 125. And that seems to be the tendency, and I think a lot of that is just because it's getting so weaker. It has dropped 45 miles per hour since this time last night, and the pressures went up. So it's falling apart. If it does not start moving, it's going to die. How far, it'll go down in category, it's too hard to tell just yet. It could drop down Cat 3, Cat 2. But like I was saying, when one weakens, it gets broader. So it will eventually affect more people along Florida because it'll be so much wider. Well, they still haven't updated it. As of 8/29, did they do another update that I didn't see? Is that official? That it's down to 115? I don't think so. No, it won't. It won't head east again. Now, there's one thing that I'm keeping an eye on. This whole thing and the direction it's going to go and how it's going to go is several different steering systems. Okay, the 10 o'clock still has it at 140, so I don't know where they're getting their information at. The official update still has it at 140, and that was 39 minutes ago. Yes, it's still Cat 4. So I don't believe that it's all the way down to 115. That might have been what the fly through of the hurricane hunter seen. Like I seen on some of the drop zones, it was like 96 at surface was the highest on the last flight. Now there is a new flight going out there right now, but at 800 and some feet above the surface, it was still 133. Let's see. Thanks, Molly. I was going to bring something up. Oh, just for your reference, it won't drop down to Cat 3 till it gets down to 129. 111 to 129 is Cat 3. So Look, go back to GR Earth. I'll zoom out here and turn the satellite back on. Yeah, I know. Weather Channel, they're getting their same information than I am from National Hurricane Center. Well, I don't know where your meteorologist is getting his information because that is not official. Unless they're talking about Juliet out in the Pacific. That's the hurricane they're talking about. Because Dorian, official from the National Hurricane Center. And if you want me to prove it to you, I will. Right there. That's even, well, that's the 8 o'clock. Let me see if they've updated this page yet. Okay, they haven't updated it for 10 o'clock. Still waiting on that. We'll find out here, and I'll get a new update in about 10 to 15. I think that 115, that's Juliet, which is over in the Pacific. Please, people, if you're going to try to say something in the chat, make sure it's accurate and make sure it's what we're talking about. We're talking about Dorian, not Juliet. Anyway, earlier I noticed, looking at the infrared, now we've got some dark building up. No, they don't get it from the National Hurricane Center. Well, where in the fuck are they getting their information? Excuse my language, folks, but that just totally upsets me. You're trying to tell me that Dorian is 30 miles per hour less, or 25, and you're telling me that your source does not get the information from the National Hurricane Center? Where in the hell are they going to get it? Who else is going out there and spilling millions and millions of dollars to fly these jets and these planes through a hurricane to get this information? There's nobody. Sorry, folks, but I'm not in the mood. You may not like the National Hurricane Center, but who else you going to get this accurate information? No, they're not perfect. Thanks for the follow. But they are the only one and the best damn source going for information. And that's because they're the only source. Right now, my blood pressure is about a Cat 6. I really apologize for everybody else, but I just can't stand when somebody tries to pull that crap. And usually, I let it, fly off the shoulder and don't think twice about it. But when I'm not feeling good and somebody comes in with that kind of stuff, I won't put up with that. This is a no hype, most accurate, most up to date channel with somebody explaining things on Twitch. Oh, I'm so sorry, folks. Thanks to all the people still watching me after my rage. Yeah, those are still really warm waters if it turns north. Thank you for the new follow. Oh, I love you all too. So, if it ever, before it dies, takes a final movement to the north, it's going to run into some pretty warm water. But there's going to be all kinds of things that are going to keep it from really growing. It might intensify some, but I don't think it's ever going to get back up to Cat 5. Hey, thanks for the cheer. I appreciate the bet. It's the reason why I apologize, folks, is because that was very, very unprofessional of me. So that's the reason why I apologize. I should not have let somebody get me worked up. But I guess I needed that out of my system. Thanks for the bets. This has been a very frustrating day. It's not been the best day for me. We had a lightning storm come through here last night, and my main computer decided to say, "Screw you." It didn't want to boot up. Hey, thanks, Diddle, for sharing. And daggone Windows 10 with that lightning storm last night. My main computer, which is protected, but it don't like Windows 10. Do not like when the power goes out while it's still running. Yeah, I've been busy with personal life here at home. I needed to really spend what time I had with my son. And plus not feeling good, and he's not feeling good, and I was worried about him, and with his heart problem, and especially after the surgery he had, and he's going to be going right back in the semi. He's a semi driver. So yeah, I wanted to spend, because I don't have much time to spend with him usually. Yeah, what's your question there, Southpaw? He's feeling a little better. NHC is even saying max sustained winds are now 120 mile per hour at 8 o'clock. Are you kidding me? You're an idiot. Look right here. Here's your 8 o'clock. What does that say? 140, not 120. Don't come on here and try giving false information. Right there. It's on your screen, blowed up. As of 8 p.m., 140 max sustained winds. No, that's not 140 gust. You're talking 120 knots. That equates to 140. Do your homework. It's 120 knots, which comes out to 140 mile per hour. Don't tell me it's 120 mile per hour and gusting 140. Right there's your proof. That is the National Hurricane Center webpage right on my screen. Okay, here's the 11 o'clock update, folks. I got to update my ticker and stuff, but it's 130 mile per hour. Just like I said, it was probably going to drop. Millibars are up to 946. Give me a second. Let me update my tickers. This is an official National Hurricane Center update at 11 o'clock. 130 mile per hour. It's still stationary, and the pressure has risen from 942 to 946. That is official, folks. Oh, God. Now, I suppose you want to argue about that, too. You come on here one more time and say something stupid, I will bounce your ass. Or Becky, if he makes another stupid comment, take him out. Okay, there's your latest information, folks. This is the 11 o'clock p.m. update. 130 mile per hour winds. Pressure is at 946 and it's still stationary. Oh, good night. We'll catch you later. So, oh my goodness. I know, Michelle. I'm about to double hammer him. Where's KS AT12? Not familiar. Yeah, that's true. Way to go, Becky. You know what, folks, and I still want to apologize because that wasn't very professional, but I had to do it. And that is the first time I've ever got that torqued off. But anyway, back to this storm. For you new folks just joining me, the bottom left of your screen, that are web pages for evacuation zones and other emergency information. And they're in order for Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. You need to find out information of whether you live there and need it, or if you know somebody that lives there, please get them that information for Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. So anyway, folks, let's take a look at the models. Now, the last few days, you've heard me talk about a model called the HWRF. That is a specialized model for hurricanes, and it's part of the NOAA setup. It's called the Hurricane Weather Research and Forecasting, HWRF. Specialized version of the weather research and forecasting model. It's used to forecast the track and intensity of tropical cyclones. So that's what the HWRF is. Let's take a look at it. This is only one of several models. Now I'll have to play it here to let it load up, and then we'll go back through it. Now, a couple days ago, this thing was actually showing landfall around Daytona Beach. Well, it changed its mind. And that's all because of what Dorian's doing. I hear my mic crackling. And I did a reboot and everything before I started the stream. Okay, let's go through this. Right up the coast. Not real close. But watch when we get up here. Did that make landfall right there at the North and South Carolina border area? That's what this model is showing before it goes back out to sea. Now we'll take a look at the latest GFS. And I'll have to play it because there's like over 380 forecast frames it needs to load up. And then we'll go through it. And I don't know why that's zoomed in. Okay, this is the GFS. Here we are at South Carolina. By golly, that's making landfall, according to GFS, there in North Carolina. Oh, I'm sorry. Dang it. I had it switched on scene. I'm sorry. I'll go back to the HWRF here in a minute. But this is showing on the GFS making landfall there in North Carolina. So that is a possibility. Okay, let's go back to the HWRF. And there's what it's showing. Just north of the border of South and North Carolina. Pretty close to the same area as the GFS just did. Now, I don't think there's a newer update for the euro, but we'll take a look at it. Off the coast. But look what the euro's showing. That's up around Cape Hatteras, the Outer Banks, possible landfall. So there's 3 models in a row that are really pointing at North Carolina. Well, let me talk about something like that. So I think our wind fields for the tropical storm force winds from the center is still going to be 120 or so miles. Could get even bigger if this thing weakens. Energy's got to go somewhere, so it goes outward. So you could still, even if you're way inland in North or South Carolina, or even Georgia and Florida, you're going to feel those tropical storm force winds if that happens. I think our biggest problem right now is going to be rainfall. I really do. And now remember, folks, let's back this one up for giggles. Okay, let's say this model's right and that storm is that close to the coast. Now remember, these things turn counterclockwise. So remember that with that counterclockwise, that wind on the northern side of it, if it decides to go north, it's going to be pushing onshore. So, and it's also going to be pushing a lot of rain. And remember, we're still in that king tide cycle. Why is my mic crackling? I don't know. Hang on just a sec. I'm going to reboot the OBS. You don't hear the crackle? Boy, I can hear it in my headphones. But anyway, and it's cutting out. But you're going to get all that rain. You're in king tide. Plus, if it happens, I think the highest part of the lunar tide is going to be around 10 o'clock to midnight, or in the daytime, 10 o'clock in the morning to noon. So if it happens in that time frame, you're going to have king tide, the lunar tidal, raising the waters up, plus storm surge. So there's going to be a lot of coastal flooding, and especially they're calling for this part of the coast is likely right now to have major flooding. Hey, thanks for the bits. And possible all along the Florida coast, but most likely in Georgia and South Carolina as of right now. So you're going to have, oh gosh, I keep doing the wrong things tonight. And so while I was switching some things, gosh, my headphones, the mic keeps crackling and cutting out. So you got the king tide. The king tide can bring your water level up on the ocean up to a foot. Yeah, I've already announced the 11 o'clock update, and then you got your lunar tide cycle that's also going to raise the water even more, and then you got your winds with the storm surge. I think I'm going to have to reboot because Big D, I have not touched my base whatsoever. Nobody else is saying anything, and you told me, what was it, yesterday, that it was fine. The reason why I might sound a little more bassy tonight is because of this flu in my throat. I'm trying to do the best I can. So I've got treble turned all the way up and the bass turned way down. I can't do anything else with it. So anyway, I just forgot what I was saying. Oh, can't think straight. Yeah, I might have to restart everything because um, it's really cutting out on my end. Let me restart OBS. I won't have to. No, you don't have to leave, Big D. I'm just saying, you know, I don't mean to sound rude. I'm just not feeling good. But that's probably the reason why I'm a little bit more bassy. What's keeping it from moving? It doesn't have any steering system right now to push it anywhere. Let me restart my OBS. I'll be right back. Okay, let's try this. Oh, there's one thing that I was wanting to talk about. Actually, a couple things. Oh, let this finish loading up. For one, here's this area that I was talking about that I'm going to be watching. Hey, evening, Grim. Uh, that daggone thing's still crackling. I don't know why. But over on the left hand side, daggone it. All right, let's try this again. Over here on the left hand side, that's the area that interesting. 140 gusts, 120 sustained. Why are people on Twitch watching a wannabe meteorologist? I don't. If I wanted to be a meteorologist, I would. And I don't just flip through National Hurricane Center. I'm showing you satellite, radar, models, other information. I'm gathering more information than you can find anywhere else on Twitch. Well, if it's the same person, it's under a different name. I tell you what, folks. I need to take a break. I need to. I just need to take a break. I'm going to mute the microphone. I'll leave this playing though. Thanks everybody for joining me. I'll leave this running. I need to try to find out why the microphone's clicking and breaking up. But I'll leave the stream running. Maybe if I was to get in front of the camera and dance, people like that wouldn't just disappear. Yeah, I don't want to limit to just sub chat because that would cut everybody else out. I want to get everybody an equal chance to get on here and enjoy the stream, enjoy the chat, ask questions. I don't know why. I've got in my headphones, I've got this awfully crackling and cutting out. So, anybody got any real questions? How is it stationary? 0 miles per hour. There's all kind of steering factors that tell this thing or any storm where to go. There's been a stalled front coming down from the Midwest. That's not helping it. The high is still way back over the ocean at this point. Normally that would, if what the models are showing is that this high is going to swing around the southeast side of it. That'll get it to move because that high pressure will push it away. There's no low system near it right at this point to pull it. So there's nothing to steer this. It's at a stalemate. Is the system in the Gulf going to make problems for you? I don't know yet. The 5-day forecast actually has it pointing and going towards Mexico. So I got to wait and see. I think it said it was 70% chance of formation. So let's see if it actually forms something first. And I'll be keeping a close eye on it. Actually, the thing's due to move sometime overnight. According to the models, it should start moving sometime overnight. GFS has it disappear quickly? Not for quite a while. I was just showing the GFS a little bit ago, and it has it on the move and going up to North Carolina and possibly making landfall. Yes, J-Man. We have this one that's got a chance in forming in the next 5 days. Let me stop the motion. There's Dorian. Here's another area to watch. But, yeah, there's a Hurricane Juliet. That's in the Pacific. And we got this one, but that high that's over in here is going to make this one shove up to the northeast. Then we have a couple out here. That one I don't think is going to affect us. But there's this other wave coming off that has a 50-50 chance in 5 days going due west and making something. I don't typically focus on the stuff in the Pacific, especially when we got one so close to home, because that one in the Pacific if it does anything that goes northwest and then curves back into California, then it's going to run into cool waters the further north it gets and just die off, just like Ivo did. So the only chance that this thing has, this is Juliet, is it for to head to Hawaii. Now, it's a long ways from there. So I won't pay attention to that till it gets a lot closer to Hawaii. So that's the reason why I mainly focus this time of year on anything in the Atlantic Basin or the Gulf. This is the only low right now in the Gulf. That system right there. So that's the storms that we're dealing with right now. Which one you talking about? There's two of them off the Gulf or off the coast. Hey, thanks for the bits. I appreciate that. That really helps me out. That one that in orange, that the 5-day cone has got it pointing west. That one maybe. I'll keep an eye on it. The one in red there that's going northwest, that's not going to affect us if it stays on that path. But I keep an eye on everything that can affect us this time of year. Any other questions? Back up here and look at the radar. Yeah, you're right. It's more like snoring, like right now anyway. Meant the one by Texas. I didn't get your first part of the question. Scrolled up. Oh, what do I think of the one in the Gulf? It's like I say, the 5-day cone has it possibly forming with a 70% over the next 5 days going towards Mexico. Can it form something and hit Texas? I'll keep an eye on it. Hey, you're quite welcome. I mean, that's what I'm all about. I'm considered a weather analyst, and this is what I do. I try to break down everything so everybody can understand. And I love to answer questions. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find it out. I don't know it all. I don't have any professional training except for some online courses through Comment. As far as hurricanes go, I did take a college course on forecasting severe weather and tornadoes. Well, thanks. I appreciate that, Jersey. Hey, Branding Iron. Ah, thanks, Fishing. Thanks for the new follow. Appreciate that all the follows, guys. And the reason why is not only to get my numbers up, but it lets me know that I can get this information out to more and more people. Again, let me switch my scenes here. There's something going on with my main computer. I may have to reboot it because all of a sudden everything just paused. Processor went to 98%. But here on your screen, this is the latest information as of 27 minutes ago. Winds are down to 130. It's slowly falling. And it's going to keep falling if it don't start moving. Pressure has went up to 948 or 946, excuse me, and it's still stationary. Okay, either I got a Windows update happening, something is tying up my processor, and I just noticed that every time I notice my mic cut out, it's at 97%. Yeah, let me reboot my main computer. I don't have to down the stream because that actually runs on another computer. The radars in that won't be in motion, but the ticker and the information will stay on the screen. So let me reboot the main computer. Give me a couple minutes and I'll be back. Let's try this. Good night, Princess. Got a couple more programs. You get loaded up. I think I need a bigger computer. Sitting here watching my processor usage. Where is that, Jeff Hardy's? Talking about Minnesota, there was a Tor R up there. I didn't get to see where it was before I shut down. There's no Tor warnings on the board right now. I didn't get to read the text before I did a reboot. So far, so good on the processor. I don't know why it was doing that. I did a Windows update for the .NET framework. Right before I went broadcasting, and it took like an hour to update it. I was still running Windows 7, but the way I have to have my system set up, because my main computer is here, and it sends everything through a special network called NDI over to the streaming PC, and that's the PC that sends everything out to the internet. And that didn't work in Windows 7. And believe me, I hate Windows 10 with a passion. Always have. When I had my computer store, I got signed up with Microsoft. I was a licensed reseller, blah, 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 all that good news. And plus, they also had me beta testing from Windows 7, 8, 8.1, Vista, all the way up to 10. I did beta testing. And believe me, for 2 years of beta testing, Windows 10, I hated it. 8 and Vista and 8.1, the worst things they ever did. I would have rather went back to Windows 98. And actually, here years ago, for several years, I worked at a Ford dealership in the parts department, and Ford would not let us upgrade out of XP to Windows 7. I have no tornado warning in Minnesota right now. There was one up there, but not now. There's a couple severe warnings in Minnesota. There's no way, I tell you what, there's no way that I could do what I do on Windows XP. Just no way. I loved XP at work. And I tell you what, I got a lot of games that I paid for that played on XP, and it won't work on 7 or 10. You talking about somebody's upset. Do I believe the storm will move north eventually? You want my honest answer, or you want me to lie to you? I agree. Windows 7 is the best. My processor is AMD A core, and it won't let me run in compatibility mode. I don't know at this point, folks. Um, Let me switch over to GR3, and I'll show you why that I'm bummed out with this storm. I'm just so bummed out. Look at that eye. It's looks like a rag doll. It's not symmetrical like it was last night. That thing was nice and perfect. Even when it was going through an eye wall replacement yesterday, it stayed symmetrical and tight, nice, sharp edges. Not ragdoll. That's what it is right now. Yes, it definitely, because it's right over really super shallow waters. I mean, you're talking about, I believe, don't, as far as I know, don't quote me on this, but I do believe, and let me show this to you again. I'll switch over to GR Earth and zoom in on it, and I'll turn. Hey, thanks for the new follow. Okay, here's the island. I do believe that's a coral reef. I do believe. Don't quote me on that. I know it's very, very shallow water. And the eye, let me turn the satellite on. See where the eye is? And the main core and the eye wall. Right over that super shallow waters. Now it gets up. Now these are still shallow waters, and that's the reason why it's lighter blue than out here. But still, it's been sitting in the same place for so long over those super shallow waters, and dumping all that rain all in the same spot. Now rain's, it's pretty cool compared to the ocean. So a lot of that super shallow area is the water that it's sucking up there at the core, and it's cooler waters because of all the rain and it being shallow. So as long as it stays there, it's not going to do anything. Oh, okay. Doggone it. Sorry, folks. I'm just one of them days. I wasn't muted. But if it starts to move north and gets off of that reef, yes, it could possibly try to reorganize and strengthen somewhat. I really don't think, in my personal opinion, looking at the models, that it's going to get very much stronger. It's definitely not going to get to Cat 5 at this point. Hey, good night. Things could change, but I tell you one thing. Let me turn the satellite back on. If this thing moves north, okay, put it in red here. Let's say it kind of goes up like this, like the cone suggests. Now, what this little thing is going to do out here is it's going that way. Then we're going to have a high back over here. It's going to start swinging around. That's going to help shove it. But what if that high comes underneath it? What could happen? That way. Out to sea. That is a possibility. Yeah, I was talking to Nathan. I was talking to him in private, but it was going out over his stream. We were kind of discussing, some plans of what this thing might do, what he was thinking, because he was kind of thinking of maybe heading home tonight. And like I told him, I said, well, you're already down there. Wait to see what the 11 o'clock, which was a major update, and see what it says. And make your decision in the morning. Why did that not draw on there? What the hell? Try this again. Sorry, folks. Okay. What I was saying was, it better draw this time. We got this thing here. That's going to go this way because of this high that's out here. Okay. Now the stalled front that's crossed here, that's going to move. Now, supposedly, this thing, according to model tracks, is going to go similar to that. Okay? But what if this high comes around underneath? It could send that thing that way, out to sea. It may not even go up the coast. If it starts moving, then I think the models, might have it pretty close to what it's going to do. But if it doesn't move and that high ends up swinging around, remember highs are clockwise, it could throw that thing. That's not out of the possibilities of the models. Now, I don't have none of my pages loaded up, so bear with me. Since my reboot. Go ahead and take a look at the cone. There's your cone as of right now. It could go anywhere in that cone, including over land up there in south of North Carolina. But like I was saying yesterday, this thing has already proved that the cone ain't always right. Because when it was over there by Puerto Rico, originally, when it was still a tropical storm, the cone had it going over Dominican Republic. Let's go back in time. Yes, now there is for Rice County and another one in Minnesota. There is a tornado warning. So here we go. There is Puerto Rico, the smaller island. and Dominican Republic. Now, there is a 10,000 foot mountain, and it's not letting me draw again. Why? There's a 10,000 foot mountain right there in the blue. An original cone was going to be like that. But then the next day, it said, oh, wait a minute. It's going to go through here. But oh no, wait. It's going to go through here. Where did it go? Over here in the Virgin Islands. And at the time that happened, all the Euro and GFS and other models were all shooting like this. And that thing went, well, it was more over here where the red line is. So it was totally away from where all the model runs and the cone said it was going to go. So this thing has always had a mind of its own. Now, most of the time, if you've been watching my show, this thing is always what we call east loaded. Guess what it is now? East loaded. Look how thin the western side of it got again. I don't like that. It actually got really symmetrical when it ramped up to Cat 5. But it was still more eastern loaded. Most of the storms were over here on the east side, or your right. And then last night, when it decided to get a whole lot of lightning right around this eye, I knew it was going to go through a eye wall replacement, and it did. Now, it hasn't recovered since early this morning. But what I did notice when it did that, this whole west side filled in. The whole west side of the core was complete. Just show the cone. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Go ahead and put it up. I'll take a look at it. As long as it's legit. Don't get me excited. I'll get Becky on you. Or Michelle. If Becky ain't here, Michelle will get you. Okay, let's take a look at this. See what he's showing me here. But what I was saying was, it got more symmetrical. It really filled out as it weakened. Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know I could do that. Be careful, that one guy's going to get you for posting only NHC. That's pretty cool animation. I like that. I'm going to save that. But that does not include, or yeah, it does. No, wait a minute here. Stop. Back up. Ah, see, here's what I was talking about. Now, I don't remember them moving that cone over on the east side. But look at this orange area. That's where it actually was. So, still, that's my point. It went outside of the cone. I'm not sure how wide it is because it got so narrow again on the west side. And it's never been close enough to radar for me to actually measure it, and I haven't heard. Okay, Michelle. Okay, nobody can say anything. Michelle's going to bed. She's my second band hammer, my backup band hammer. But still, my point was it went outside the cone. I appreciate all your help, Michelle. I really do. So, this thing, my point is, uh, we can't go by the models, especially since it's not moving. I mean, it's still stationary. What is it going to do? I've been saying the last couple of days, I'm not going to get real serious about the track of where it's going to go. No, that's my own personal opinion. Until it started to leave the Bahamas. Because I knew it was going to slow down to at least 2 miles per hour. It went down to 1, then stationary. But I also knew it was going to wobble. And that's exactly what it's been doing. It's been wobbling for over 24 hours. So, while it's messing around, what steering system is going to get close enough to it to move it? That's the big question. It needs something to steer it. Until that point, it's going to sit there and get weaker and weaker and weaker. And as you can see on the latest satellite scan, that western side has really weakened down. Hey, thanks for the new follow. It has really weakened down. Yeah, that's what it looked like, was the inchworm animation map. That was pretty cool animation. I think they fudged the cone a little bit because I don't remember them saying east side of Puerto Rico on the cone. I know some of the models did, and maybe I missed it. But all I know is just like I showed, even with that animation, that orange dot was outside the cone. It didn't go where the cone said. And this hurricane's been like this. I've worked on a lot of hurricanes over the last several years. And this has been the worst one to try diagnose, to analyze, and even forecast. I mean, your professional meteorologists are having a hard time with it. The National Hurricane Center is having a hard time with this. All the models are having a hard time with this. This is the worst one. And it's giving me a headache. So, folks, really, that's all I have for tonight. My back is like super killing me. Yeah, it is so unpredictable. And especially now that that west side has gotten thinner, there's less distance between the side and the eye there on the west side. And I know when I was looking last night, if it started going north, there was going to be a lot of wind shear. Maybe that wind shear has moved down a little bit, and that's the reason why it's blowing it off. But it wasn't that narrow on the west side several hours ago. This is something pretty recent. So anyway, folks, my back's killing me. My throat's hurting. I got so many things I got to get done tonight to get ready for tomorrow for a meeting. So thank you, everybody. for the donations and the follows and the bets. And thank you, 99%, for the comments and questions. Okay, Southpaw, I'll check it out. Like I say, 99% of the comments. There's that 1% that, hope we don't change his name and come back. So, good night, everybody. Thank you again for all the follows and all the donations. We'll catch you on the next broadcast. And I'm not sure when that's going to be. Something major changes, I'll come back on. But other than that, good night.